You need more Red Bull.
Give me more Red Bull.
Hey, I think we're live. Hey, it's Dave
Oh,
and Phil. We have been remiss last week and this morning because we had to go to see some friends in Kansas City last Wednesday, and we got overwhelmed with all the exciting things that are happening there, I think. Is that fair?
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, I've been busy. And Dave looked at me and said, we need to do a live stream.
Yeah, well, it's my fault this morning. It's kind of the foundation for what we're going to talk about today. I had the privilege of going back to old Tinker Air Force Base and seeing a lot of great friends and celebrating a good friend of mine changing command for the 52nd Air Patrol Wing, and another great friend taking over today. And there was a comment made by Major General Franks today as part of the ceremony. If you've never been to a change of command,
It's way cool. It's way cool.
Go, because you get to see the celebration and the families and just the community around it.
And one of the coolest things I ever got to experience when I was on active duty is I went to the actual change of command for the Secretary of Defense.
Nice.
Which was,
you stood up for a long time.
Oh my Lord!
Long
People
parade.
were falling out. Right? It was terrible.
They're gonna kill somebody.
Exactly. They're gonna kill somebody celebrating this. So yeah.
But General Franks shared something when he was talking about, Fish, Colonel Poisson leaving, and Hitch, Colonel Quill taking over. He said leadership is about two things: discipline and purpose. And what's funny, Phil and I go into organizations and talk to them about your leadership and how you're guiding your team. And they go, well, we're not the military. You can't just order people what to do. And I think the point is lost when we talk about that, because if you have discipline in the organization and you have purpose as a leader and you work together as a team, amazing things can happen.
Well, I can tell you this. When I was on active duty, I know this is true for you. When I received an order, it never felt like an order when it came from a good leader.
Right.
It was no different than in a workplace where you have a strong leader and they say, hey, I need you to go do this. You don't go do it because they told you have to go do it. You go do it because you want to go do it. You go do it because it's the right thing for the mission of the organization or for your customer, or, so there's a lot of misinformation about how leadership works in the military.
And the interesting thing about that is, let's put it, we've been out of the military a while, so we kind of are starting to adapt
I'm
our
old.
style. Yeah. Let's put it in this perspective. A customer calls the boss with a problem, right? The customer has to be your client. You weren't aware of the problem. You didn't answer the phone. Some reason he didn't contact you first. Doesn't matter why. The boss comes and goes, hey, Phil, Joe called from company X and he's got an issue with A, B, and C. Would you take care of it? He asked you because he knows you have the discipline and the purpose to take care of the customer. If he didn't think that, he wouldn't have asked you to. Now, he's probably going to follow up because that's part of the discipline purpose piece. But Phil's going to go, oh man, I didn't even know about it. Sorry, boss, we'll get it taken care of.
Take care of it.
It's the same thing as an order in the military. That's how it works. Hey, can you go take care of this? Hey, I need you to go do this mission. Are there any challenges? What can I help you with? Or how do we get you there? Discipline and purpose is having the focus and the mission and vision to execute day in and day out, whatever your job is.
And I think that's one thing. Happily, because
Yeah.
I think people misunderstand that for those that have ever served, it's your job. People that have never served or aren't currently served, a lot of times they'll say things like, well, gosh, you had to go do that. And you're looking around going, what's my job? It's what I do. It doesn't matter if you're flying planes, jumping out of planes, preparing the food for troops, working in supply, doing artillery, work on a submarine. It doesn't matter what the job is in the military. That's your job. And so it's absolutely no different than any other employer. Your employer just happens to be the United States of America and the Department of Defense. But bottom line is good leadership. It doesn't matter if you're on active duty or if you're in the private sector. People respond appropriately to correct leadership.
And the other thing is, they don't pull out their job description when you ask them to do something, right? If you're part of the team and you're trying to have a great culture in the company and everybody knows what they do to contribute to the execution of a mission to win and gain clients, when you ask them to do something they didn't know their job description, they go, no problem, boss, I got it.
Yeah.
Because we love you and we know you're trying to guide us to success. Right?
I mean, I just heard Dave, just so you know, we never script anything we're doing. This is live. So, because sometimes that's good, sometimes that's bad. But I just got to hear a phone conversation Dave had with a chief in the Air Force. And Dave, his conversation was, well, Chief, this is what you do when you trust the pilot to take care of something, and just the conversation back and forth. There was no, I mean, it's like anywhere, right? I mean, if you work at let's say you work at a retail shop and somebody says, hey, we got a delivery of a bunch of product and we need to inventory it, we need to get it out on the shelves, and nobody's going to sit there and go, well, no, I don't want to do that. Even if you don't want to do it, nobody's going to say, I don't want to do that, because guess what? If you don't do it,
you lose the customer.
Yeah, I mean, so just understanding that it all starts with leadership and the tone they set and the culture they build within their organization or their division within their organization, or whatever the case may be. But strong leadership fixes most problems.
Strong leadership is servant leadership, right? If they serve their team and they put them in the right direction, their team is going to serve the customer in the same way they're being served by their leader, because it all rolls one direction, right?
Right.
So if you're in charge and you're not using good tactics and techniques to deal with your team and serving them, then they aren't going to do the same thing with your clients. Typically, you're going to get the same attitude from your team that you give them.
Well, usually you can, like most things in life, you can apply it to parenting, right? Yeah. And I've always said, if you show me a rude, disrespectful child, I'll usually be able to show you rude, disrespectful parents.
Yeah.
And that doesn't, I mean, that's a broad brush statement, but it's true more times than it's not. It's like everything in life. You can overcomplicate it, or out of necessity, I have to keep everything simple, right? Because of my own intellect, I got to keep it very simple.
Well, Steve Jobs said, so simple is hard.
Simple is hard.
And it is sometimes.
And we outthink ourselves, right? We make things more difficult than they need to be, or we create these, Dave and I talk about how the scariest part in all human beings is the 6 inches between your ears, because we create all this stuff in our mind that 9 times out of 10, not only is it true, it's something that's not even remotely you're ever going to deal with, but we create this junk in our minds and create all these problems. But good leadership, like Dave said, servant leadership, it's about consistently creating a culture and an atmosphere that people want to excel. They want to do everything they do with excellence. You don't know, perfection's unobtainable. Everybody knows that, but excellence is very much obtainable. And I think it starts with a good leader helping create that battle rhythm, that culture, that thing that you can't really see, but what's that thing? It's hard to describe, or it's hard to define it, but I know it when I see it.
Yep.
That's what great servant leadership really is all about. You can always know it when you see it in an organization.
And the interesting thing is, and I've had this conversation 1,000 times with, but if you're a good leader and you're teaching your team the right way, they expect you to set a high bar.
Yeah, absolutely.
And they don't want you to say the minimum is good enough, because they want to excel, right? People do not want to suck in life.
Right.
People want to be successful. People want to be recognized. People want to be rewarded. People want to be celebrated, however they like to be celebrated. So if you're keeping the bar down here, you're going to lose employees because they don't want to live down here. Everybody wants to move up the ladder. Everybody wants to move forward in their life. I don't know a person out there that doesn't. I mean, there are people in our country today working 3 jobs, just to make a difference in their own personal life. And I can hear people complain about all the people not working, and I get it. But if you are a good company and you are a good leader and you are giving people hope for a better future, you're going to have a great, incredible team.
Yeah, and I think, to speak to that challenge that so many employers are facing right now, we even face it, is, because of everything that's happened over the last year and a half or so, there are unique challenges out there when it comes to the workforce. But just because something's hard or it's not easy, or however you want to frame it, doesn't mean you don't have to figure out a solution to it. And it does, it doesn't give you a right to just throw your hands in the air and go, well, that's a hard one. So it is what it is. It is what it is until it isn't.
And our Marine brothers say it best, right? Yeah. Embrace the suck, man.
Yeah.
You can sit and complain about all the things going wrong every day in your company and be that person, that negative Nelly in your organization. And I sound old now, sorry, but I am. Or Or you can go, how are we going to solve this problem with the team? Do you know anybody that can do this? Can we work around it? Can we fix this? What are we going to do that? Look for solutions, not problems. I promise you, if you go through your organization without discipline and purpose and you look for problems and not solutions, it's going to be a very, very miserable place to work.
Yeah, and again, just like in life, there's going to be days that are going to be messy, and there's going to be days where you just aren't clicking. I mean, that's reality. Everybody's heard me say this. Some days you're a duck, some days you're an eagle. Just be an eagle more than you're a duck. I mean, so you're going to have those days, but that's when processes.
Can we say ostrich instead of duck? Because we're using duck for something else.
Yeah, but duck's good.
Okay.
Yeah, duck's good. Yeah.
Right.
But yeah, if you like ostrich.
I'm not just.
But if you're an ostrich, since Dave outranks me, if you're an ostrich and you stick your head in the sand, right?
See, that's a great visual.
You like that?
I like that.
So if you're an ostrich and you stick your head in the sand on a certain day, you can still be an ostrich and not stick your head in the sand, right? I mean, you're going to have days that are tougher than others. You're going to have days where the problems just see, what's that old Casey Kasem, the hits keep coming.
Oh, yeah.
It just seems like the hits just keep coming. It's just like one thing after another. That's called life. It's called life. It's going to happen. And you just got to keep pressing forward. But that's when that great culture and that servant leadership and everybody pulling the rope in the same direction, that's when that stuff matters.
And your real leadership shows your organization when things are really bad, right? How you react.
Well,
your reaction when things go wrong defines if you're in a bad situation and you're freaking out, screaming, we're all going to die, or the company's going under, or this. That is not going to be a positive outcome for the organization. But if things are going crazy, you go, hey, we got this. Let's take a step back. Slow is smooth, smooth is slow. Take our time and step into it. The reaction and the performance is going to be nothing less than exceptional.
Yeah, you use the analogy that when your house is on fire, I want to know who's going to run away from the fire and who's going to run towards the fire, right? So I want to know who just throws her hands in the air and panics, says, I got to get out of here. And who sets and goes, oh, the house is on fire. How are we going to stop it? Right? I mean, so who's running towards the fire? Who's running away from the fire? The key is to build a culture where everybody feels inclined to intelligently run towards the fire to figure out a solution, because it's not going away.
Nope.
I mean, so you can, when Dave and I were 30 years ago when we were much younger and we're doing much cooler things in life, I would always get asked questions from friends and say, well, when you're in the military and you do this and this, what does this do? And what does that do? And I've always used this description. I said, being in the military, especially if you're in a combat oriented job, it's hours of boredom mixed in with seconds of sheer terror. that's how it works.
Or panic.
Or panic, whatever.
Pick a word that's not very positive.
Pick a word that's scary, right? And it's how you respond in those seconds that matter,
100%.
And it all comes from preparation. It all comes from understanding that those moments are going to come and you embrace it. Understanding that you have to embrace the suck sometimes, like our brother Marines tell us. It is what it is, right? Until it isn't.
And your business is no different.
No.
Don't say, oh, well, this isn't. There are days in your business where everything's going just perfectly fine. There is not a problem in the world. You're happy as a pig and poo.
Every phone call.
Everything's
unicorns and puppies.
Right. Rainbows. It's everything.
And then there's days when every phone call, you're like, why are we even doing this? We suck.
And then you wake up one day and your website's down. You've got a bunch of things that aren't accomplished that you thought were done that you just found out weren't done. So and now is when you have to react. Now is when you go, oh God, how do I take care of this customer? How do I fix this problem? How do this? Take a step, deep breath, get going. And Matt, we love you, brother. You're the best.
I just saw Matt's comment. Matt says, pointless to whine around you military boys.
Hey, Matt, there's no whining in baseball. No crying in baseball, so we're not going to do that either. So the reality is you can either lay in the mud, like you say, and not survive.
Yeah. Or
you can step up, let the mud dry off, dust yourself off, and solve the problem.
Yeah.
Solve the problem at hand. I mean, that's all you can do. Solve the problem. And keep stepping to the next one until they're all solved.
This comment will tell you a lot about the guy that raised me, but when I was a young man, my dad told me he was trying to be funny, but he also was making a point. He said, if you ever find yourself where you know you're going to have to physically fight, make sure you find a bunch of gravel and go fight in the gravel. And I said, why would I want to do that? Because you're going to fight a lot harder, right? He also is the one that said, if you ever get knocked on your butt, you got a choice. You can either lay there and bleed, or you can stand up and fight back.
That's a fact.
So, and there are going to be days where you're going to be bloody. There's going to be days where it's going to hurt. There's going to be days where nothing goes right. Welcome to life. And everybody experiences it, and you got to just work towards solutions to get back on track and to stay focused. That's also why you got to have a plan up front. You got to know what is your battle rhythm? What is your culture? What is your mission? What are the objectives? What are your tactics and your strategies to execute on that plan? And then you have to do it consistently. You can't just do it a couple days and then say, well, I did it twice this week. It's
a compound effect, right? If you consistently do things over time, your success will compound itself, even when you have mistakes along the way.
We're working with a business right now, and it might be a business that we actually end up investing in, but we were having a conversation with the current ownership group, and we were talking about numbers, and he said, well, what should I do first? I said, well, the first thing you got to do is you need to have somebody else give you a valuation of where does my business set. Now, a lot of people, and these would be people that don't do business the way we do it, would say, well, why would you tell them to get a valuation? Maybe you can get it cheaper. Well, there's the right way and there's the wrong way.
Yep.
Right? You want things to be done appropriately all the time. Another example, Dave came in today and I said, hey, I've been thinking about something, and we walked through this process that happens with one of our clients. Dave started laughing. He goes, yeah, I was getting ready to talk to you about that today. I was going to argue with you if you disagreed with me, but luckily, what I didn't know he was even thinking about talking to me about it. And I said, we got to do it this way, and it was the way that it should be done. And Dave started laughing. He goes, yeah, I was going to argue with you if you said it the other way. But so we saved.
I was going to get beat up probably. I was still going to argue with you.
We saved ourselves some time, right? Because we agreed. But
that's good, and it's all done now.
But it's also because we have a process, and we have a culture in our company, and we have a way of approaching relationships with people. And every organization needs to have those. We'll get questions sometimes about how to handle employees that maybe don't have the same personality the leader does, or they don't approach things the same way a leader does.
Or they have some significant personal issues that they're dealing with.
Right.
And it could be anything.
Right. So we've kind of heard it all, been there, done that, got all the t-shirts between all of our clients and our own businesses over the years. But the truth is, you guys have heard me say this, do you want things to be right, or do you want to be right? Meaning, do you want in your own mind to feel like that you won that exchange, or do you want the organization to be healthy and thriving and your customers to have a great experience when they interact with your employees? There's part of being a leader too, is if you have that servant leadership mentality, you're going to put other people's feelings, beliefs, emotions, and let's be clear about this. I'm not saying compromise your integrity. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying to compromise your values. I'm saying there is truly something to listening and being and responding in a way that empowers that employee where they're at, and in a way that they receive, so you can get the best outcome for the customers and for the organization.
So Matt's asking us the question, is there such thing as a truly intractable problem? And the answer to the question is no. There are problems that you have to either go around, go through, or go over.
Right.
So the intractable piece is, if it can't be solved, if that specific piece can't be solved, can you still meet your objective? And one of the things, and it's a great question, the reason I say it that way is this: if you know what the objective is and you have a plan, there's going to be a lot of problems that happen between the plan and the objective.
Yep.
Right? There's gonna be a lot of challenge, and I call them challenges, not problems, that happen. So the question is how do you, let's not call them problems, let's call them challenges. How do you mitigate that challenge?
Correct.
How do you overcome that challenge? Because some things you're not gonna overcome, you're gonna go around, right? You're gonna find a path of least resistance around that challenge to reach the objective. When we say, well, we can't solve this problem, we can't get there, well, that's not necessarily true. You may not be able to stop the problem. The question is how do you get to the objective? And I think that's how we need to think about issues and challenges like about our company. I mean, it's a great mindset shift to stop using the word problem as an owner and say challenges, because it changes the perspective of your team.
Right.
It gives you more tools to execute and overcome and move around or through, and it gives you a different perspective. And I will tell you, I've been using that philosophy since 2009 in my life, because a senior leader came up to me and said, "You will do this from now on," because he was trying to help me be a better leader that had more tools in my kit.
Well, and I think too, in this, try to get to be a visual, if you're in a firefight, if you're in the military, if you're in a firefight and it's a really bad one, and you look down and you got one magazine left.
That's a challenge.
And there's a bunch of bad guys out there. You don't get to say, well, been a good run, did the best I could.
But that's a significant challenge, because you have a good chance of getting killed. So the question is, the objective is to not die at this point, because you're in a bad firefight.
Which, just for the record, that's always the objective. If you're in
the objective is to
objective number one,
or to take the hill or whatever. But sometimes in business, as well as combat and in life, you have to retreat a little bit and regroup. Yeah. And if you have a challenge that's so significant, you have to retreat, and regroup. That's okay.
What do they teach an active shooter? What do you do?
Run, hide, fight.
Run, hide, fight. Right. So it doesn't mean you're giving up. It's mean what you're really doing. Another way of saying that is, if you're running or retreating, what are you really doing? You're buying yourself some time,
distance from the issue,
so that you can reevaluate, formulate an action plan, and then execute. Okay, so it's and business is identical, guys. I mean, and it's every day. Luckily, I tell the story when I first got into sales many, many years ago. This guy was telling me about cold calls, and I was like, okay, yeah, I can do that. And somebody said, well, do you really think you're going to be able to do that? And I said, dude, I just got out of a world where if I wasn't getting shot at, it was a good day. A cold call is not going to scare me, right? So a lot of it's perspective too. What's the worst thing that's going to happen? I'm a big believer in when you're doing your planning, you're evaluating a situation, a challenge, come up with that worst case scenario, come up with that best case scenario, because the truth's in the middle somewhere most times, right? That's where the outcome's going to be, is in the middle. So if you'll do that, you'll really give yourself an opportunity to have the best outcome possible.
And I would argue, you said the boundaries is nice, but focus on the positive.
Yeah.
Focus on what can happen. I mean, we started this conversation with discipline and purpose, right? I want you to, over the next day or two, define your purpose and have the discipline to execute that purpose with your team and share it with your team. Let them know where you're going and where you're headed in a nice way. It's not an edict. It is, this is what we're looking at doing. This is how we want to get there. This is our purpose. I will tell you, if your team, every member on your team knows how they impact the success of your organization and what it means when they succeed, they're going to be a lot more motivated to do their job.
Well, to give you a great example, Dave knows this. We got a little remodel going on in our house right now. And this morning,
you did a remodel in 18. Do you realize that?
Do what?
You did a remodel in 18.
Yeah, I know.
Okay, I'm just and this is, did you remodel a fool?
You've met my wife, right?
Okay. She's a very
beautiful,
wonderful.
Yeah. But so we're doing this little remodel. They brought the cabinets out today, and they forgot to bring our sink back with the cabinets. So I said, hey, where's our sink? The delivery guys go, they didn't tell me about a sink. So think something simple, right? It's not a big deal, something simple. But what happened? Well, he reached out, I reached out, we coordinated. Guess what? Sink's already at my house, right? A couple hours later. So there's always little adjustments you got to make. There's always little things that occur. I called them, say, hey, I'm happy to drive and pick it up. And it's like 30 minutes from where I live. And their immediate response was, no, we're going to bring it to you, so, but it's that whole interaction, right? And it can be something teeny tiny like that, or it can be something major. But regardless, it still requires the same steps and the same process.
It does.
Gosh.
Discipline and purpose.
I'm tired.
I am too. It's lunch. I'm hungry too.
Well, you know me. I'm not going to miss a meal.
I'm hangry.
Angry Dave.
So first of all, I want to thank everybody for taking time to listen to us today. We'll be back regular time next week at 9 a.m. Back to consistent battle rhythm. Last 2 weeks been crazy. But until then, Dave and Phil, we are out of here.